Let me map something out for your imagination, Rosie.
Okay, go.
Matthews, Tavares, Taves, Kempf, 1 to 4 seed. What do you think of that?
Oh, I don't mind that at all, to be honest. I mean, it's what are the terms? What are the parameters? I mean, big news drops yesterday about Jonathan Taves being wanting to get back into the NHL. And yeah, right away with what we do, we think interesting. A guy with that
Mm-hmm.
pedigree history, you go to his DB and it's just like bing, 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 like three, the leader of three in five Stanley Cups. Like it was a modern day dynasty in Chicago. He's run into some issues, but has got the help he seems to need. And there's no doubt there's a conversation that needs to happen where he could be a fit in Toronto.
So, in case you missed it, Frank Saravalli dropping a bit of a bomb yesterday in his coverage, whether it be over with Daily Faceoff or the Amazon Prime broadcast. That we heard about this GQ article from a couple weeks back. Jonathan Taves in a healing process, on a healing journey from an immune system. In fact, he recently spent a few weeks in India undergoing procedures and stuff like that. But it sounds like he's trying to make a return to the NHL, which is kind of crazy considering he hasn't played since April 3rd, 2023. That's a long, long time ago for a guy who's 36. He's going to be 37 in April. But yeah, you look at the name, it is really polarizing, Rosie. I mean, 3 time Stanley Cup champion. I would argue he's probably the clutchest player I've seen in the last 20 to 25 years. Like he scored that many big goals. We just talked about the World Juniors. He starred there. Like everywhere he has won gold medals, this and that. Like on paper, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it just clued in how you rattled off those centermen, and one was kind of sticking out a little bit. But man,
You
that's
missed
fourth
that.
line. That's a fourth liner, baby. But yeah, it's interesting because I don't think like no one's saying we're going to get him and expect him to be Jonathan Taves of 2010. Okay, no one's saying that. But he comes in with his pedigree, his ability, his history, his experience. You think that this team has had trouble playing the right ways and committing to a system that works in the playoffs. Here's a guy that knows it better than anyone who could put skates on, who's capable of still playing. And he could potentially come to you for what? We talk about Max Pacioretty coming on a PTO and you taking a chance on him that doesn't cost you anything, and oh lo and behold it works out quite well. Here's another scenario where I don't know what he's going to demand. I don't know how much interest is going to be. Yeah, he's a bit older, he's completely rusty, he hasn't played in 2 years. How long will it take this guy to get back to form? Can he get back to form? Those are all questions. But if he himself wants to come to a contender and be a piece in something special, maybe the Leafs are on his radar and he'll come in for something that doesn't break the bank and say, well, maybe I'll come here at the deadline, see what I can do, see if I can help. It's not going to cost a whole lot. And then even he knows where he's at. And then he can go into the off season and say, okay, what's my worth? What's my value? And see if he can bet on himself. I think that's another scenario where it might not, depending on all the interest from the rest of the league, cost them a whole lot. And you can see if that works. Will they have that luxury? I don't know, but it's very intriguing because just of all the things I mentioned, man, his pedigree would be phenomenal if it's just in the locker room itself. And then I have a feeling that he could still play smart. I mean, look at Jonathan Tavares right now.
Yeah.
He's killing it, playing the right kind of hockey at his age.
I think it's a risky proposition to begin the conversation. I think in a perfect world, he fills that third line center position. But for a team that has aspirations for a Stanley Cup this year, you can't bank on a guy again who hasn't played almost in 2 calendar years. Granted, he's got the track record, the resume. The key info here is that he's resumed skating, is feeling the best he has in years, according to Frank Saravalli. He's back to playing weight, which is great. But the key quote I saw, they're not entirely sure yet whether Taves might try and resume playing this year, in which case he'll have to be on a team's reserve list by the trade deadline on March 7th, or if this is something that will wait until next year, because I think that's the important thing to stress is Saravelli actually listed the Leafs, Jets, and Avalanche as 3 teams to watch on this front.
Yeah, people that could use his service at that line. I'm not saying let's trade Matthew Nyes for Taves. I'm not
Well,
saying
that's
that.
that's the bonus of all this, in my opinion, is that you would
Exactly.
just sign the guy, have to give up no assets. I love that aspect.
It's amazing, and
Yeah.
it's very intriguing because of his pedigree and and you're not asking him to take Mitch Marner's job. You're slotting a guy into a very needed position at our 3C, having him play in the bottom six. Do you know how smart he is? Do you know what his hockey IQ is? I mean, that hasn't gone anywhere. If he's missed a step or has a little bit of rust, well, so what? He's still going to be better than any 3C potentially that you could put in that slot. So um, it's interesting, man. You also, you're breaking up that line that's had some success there, but him playing against Bobby McMahon and to be able to set him up with Bobby McMahon the way he's playing as of late, there's lots of different options. And if it doesn't cost you anything and he's willing to come here and try it out, I think it's very intriguing. Again, I'm not saying sell the farm or any big high end thing for him. You don't have to, but if he wants to come here and it's mutual and you want to see where he's at, and I just wonder if he's wanting to play next year, if he's already skating, I wonder at what level he's skating. If he's already skating in, at Christmas time, it's like, well, maybe he's getting into shape so that he can start playing here in February.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.